Good morning, sports fans. You are watching Shady Sports Network, and I'm your host, Sam Shady. Today, we're going to kick this episode off a little bit differently than we normally do, with a little bit of an announcement. But first, a quick word about our sponsor, Current. Current is the official bank of Shady Sports Network. Use our code at the bottom of the screen, which I'm going to pop up right now, to get $50 at sign up when you receive your first $200 direct deposit or more. So back to the announcement I was talking about. 1 year ago today, Shady Sports Network was launched as a one-man passion project by myself. But basically, it's quickly grown into a team of people all producing content about sports from high school to NFL. We've had players in nearly every level and league to tell their stories. We've launched a website, merchandise, and started producing articles, podcasts, and we've ended up producing so much content over the last year. Collectively, we went from 10 followers as a network to over 10,000 in a year's time. And along the way, we've had fans watch over 2,000 hours of our content. It's been an amazing first year so far, but it seemed like a perfect time to announce our 500 subscriber giveaway. And with that, I wanted to announce that Lauren Gomez, one of our very, very avid supporters, has won the $150 prize. So Lauren, if you're watching, congratulations. We appreciate all your support over the last year. I know you haven't necessarily been here since day one, but thank you so much for all the sharing, all the help, all the liking, all the stuff you've done over the years to help support us and grow us over the past year. It's been tremendous help, and we're very excited that you are the winner of the $150 prize. So congratulations. Super excited. Looking forward to giving you that very quickly. But to introduce our next guest, here is his highlight reel very quickly.
I hear some people saying things like, when I make it, when I get to the top. I'll keep working hard until I get to the top, until I reach my goal. Let me tell you something. There's no end. Winners never stop. If you reach your goal, set a bigger goal. If you get to the top of the mountain, find a bigger mountain. It's the journey.
Julian Walker, Skywalker, as they call him.
From Kansas City, Julian Walker.
All right, I'm going to let that play in the background while I introduce our guests. So as you all know, we've kind of got that obligatory, sponsorship giveaway stuff out of the way. So today we're joined by a man that goes by Juice Skywalker, which if you have a nickname like that, you must be a master of your craft, showing Jedi-like precision in your routes and the hands as reliable as they must come. So please help me welcome Mr. Julian Walker to the channel. How you doing, Julian?
Hey, what's up, man? What's going on? How we doing?
Doing great. Super excited to have you on. Once again, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on, man, for sure.
Absolutely. So, Julian, I'm going to jump right into it here. You hail all the way from Indiana, where you attended Southport High School, where you were a multi-sport athlete. You played basketball, football, and ran track. We talked a little bit off camera where I came across the fact that in 2009, I believe it was, you managed a 6'2" high jump at an event in 2009, which I thought was unbelievable. You kind of corrected my expectations a little bit, but to me, this makes you part of what makes you such a dynamic receiver. How much did being a track athlete back in high school help you ultimately develop your game as a wide receiver?
Oh man, it's great body control. I learned from the track aspect, and really being fine too with different muscles in your body. In track, you have to use every muscle to be successful in that bit. So high jump was pretty tough because you had to, you got to jump over a bar, you got to bend your back. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of timing and technique and coordination for that, for sure. And then long jump as well is the same thing. A lot of coordination and body control for sure.
Absolutely. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe your numbers at the time were around 22 feet on the broad or the long jump.
Yeah, I got 23 one time, but I have got 22 as well. You know, I came close. I think I was like a point. I was like a couple inches off um, from the state. I was like sixth in state though. I jumped 22-3 at state, but the person that won state, I remember was 23-1. So it was pretty close. But it's just a lot of body control that goes into it for sure.
Absolutely. So obviously, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on your high school career. Everybody wants to hear about your pro career. But in 2007, you won the Offensive MVP award for your school. Excuse me. Was that voted on by your peers or coaches at the time?
It was the coaches. Man, when I first got there, we wasn't very good. My freshman and sophomore year, my junior year, I think we made a turn because a lot of guys that was in the program stayed. And our record didn't show. I mean, we won one game, but we lost every game by like a touchdown or a field goal or something like that. So we was pretty close. My junior year, we was making that turn, and my senior year, we really turned it on and won conference that year. So it was pretty good.
Gotcha. Um, so you ended up attending St. Joseph's College in Indiana as well. At the time, how important was it for you to stay close to home?
Man, actually, I mean, I was trying to get away, but but no, but it was important to me, man, because my family, my friends and stuff like that. I mean, they can drive up our 30 minutes up the road to come see me or come to the games. We also played at school that was in Indianapolis, called University of Indianapolis. It was a D2 school as well, and we also played them. So I came back home and played, and man, my hometown ended up going to the game for sure too. So it was a great experience, man, and I'm glad it was close to home.
Absolutely. So even though it's been, a little bit since you graduated, you still to this day hold several school records, some of which may never honestly be broken, including the single game receptions record with 17 catches in a single game. And another game, which you informed me was not the same game, which I was kind of misunderstanding there, which you scored 4 times in a single game. So talk to me about, kind of your performance during college and how you were able to put up some of these amazing games.
Oh man, well, we all put the work in. My teammates, the coaches. I just really thank them for their trusting into me. You know what I mean, to be able to perform like that. To be honest with you, man, I didn't even know I had 17 catches till my coach told me after the game. And then the 4 touchdowns. I mean, I was just rolling. Our offense was rolling that day. Our quarterback threw 9 touchdowns that game. So we was just rolling. And I had great teammates and a really great coach. He obviously and actually he coaches for the Jets. He's an OC for the Jets in the NFL. So he was a great mind, and he put a lot of things together that made us successful for sure.
Mike LaFleur?
Yes, sir.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. I did not catch that in my research. That's crazy.
He was my offensive
Oh,
coordinator in college for three years actually. Yep, three. So I still kind of talk to him a little bit to this day and talk about stuff. But he's a really good guy. He was in the office from morning all the way up to midnight. So he used to work, man, and he used to have me and the quarterback in there. So he had great dedication for sure.
absolutely. I mean, for him to end up in the NFL, I mean, unfortunately, he was let go by the Jets recently, but for
Yeah.
him to end up in the NFL, that kind of shows how good of an offensive mind he really is. And quite honestly, I guarantee if it's not this season, he will be a coordinator in the NFL again.
Oh,
He will.
yes. Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yep. No doubt.
Another one of those branches off the Shanahan tree, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
so you still stand as the second leading receiver in school history for St. Francis. How important was it for you to create a long-lasting legacy for yourself everywhere you've been throughout your career?
Oh yeah, too, and then too, some people get it confused too with that St. Francis too as well. It's St. Joseph's College, and it's confusing because
Sorry
it's
about
kind of
that.
close together. No, it's all good. Um, Man, I just we put in a lot of work there, man. It was nothing to do there. So we had to focus on our school and work, and then in football. So there's really no distractions. So what made us really good there is the people around, the teammates and stuff like that. Man, we worked really hard for sure. So I try to continue that all the way throughout my career, and then also to my pro career too.
Absolutely. So we got a couple comments, one of which I thought was funny. The shock by Inside the Lines at 17 receptions in a game. And then he responds by saying, most I've had was 3.
Hey
You're
man,
gonna have
we
to
was we was rolling, man. I mean, the only one I remember is, we were up, uh, 24-21, and it was like a minute 20 left in the game, and we needed a huge third down. It was like 3rd and 8. We needed a huge catch, you know what I mean, to get the third down and win the game to seal it. I ran I remember the play. It was called basic. So a basic is a 10-yard in. So what I did is I ran that 10-yard in, and I got open and I caught it, got the first down, and that was the game. So that's the only catch I kind of remember, you know what I mean, from there. So of course it was pretty huge.
absolutely. So after a 4-year college career that saw you catch over 220 passes, topping 2,400 yards and scoring 23 times, you graduate college and kind of enter that 2014 draft cycle. So unfortunately, you were obviously coming out of a smaller school. So kind of walk our fans through what the draft process is for men like yourself.
Man, I went to pro dates. So I went to Indiana State pro dates. So sometimes colleges, big colleges, they take schools like smaller schools and be like, hey man, you want to come to our pro date? Me invite you there. So because they have like bigger pro teams that come to their schools. So I just like to thank them for allowing me to do that. And then that's how it kind of happened. I had a couple workouts with the Colts. Um, I had a workout with the Vikings. I had a couple CFL workouts, Edmonton Eskimos. They call the Elks now. And then I had a Saskatchewan Rough Riders too as well. So and after that, some of those things didn't pan out, and that's when I started playing arena football.
Gotcha. So I'm curious, did you have arena football contracts on the table at the time, when you came out of college, or was it one of those things where you didn't really even kind of pay mind to that at the time?
Yeah, I actually did. It was in the IFL, Green Bay Blizzard. Right after college, they asked me, hey, I worked out for 'em one time, and it was like, hey man, come on in. And then I ended up doing another avenue with the CFL and stuff like that. But yeah, I had before. And yeah, then I was like, man, what's arena football? You know what I mean? So I was really getting curious with it, of like, man, like what is it? And then after all that stuff didn't happen, I didn't get anywhere else. I went back to arena, and then I found out what it was.
Gotcha. So you hadn't ever really watched the sport prior to playing it?
I've watched a little bit of it because there was a arena team in Indiana called Indiana Firebirds. So I watched a little bit of it, and I was like, man, what is this? This is pretty cool, you know. But besides that, I really didn't. I really didn't get into it for sure. Yeah.
That's kind of crazy that you weren't necessarily a fan of the sport, and now you're established as probably one of the best receivers in terms of statistics, like all time, in terms of CIF for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
It's funny how that works.
yeah.
So in 2015, you end up jumping into indoor football for the first time with Amarillo Venom of the
Mhm.
CIF, where you would spend the first 2 seasons of your professional career. What led you to the Venom way down in Texas, which was obviously so far from Indianapolis?
Um, Man, so I had a couple connects. One of my guys got me to with an agent, and and he knew the head coach there. And then I came in there and I worked out for him, and um, end up getting on the team. His name was actually Julian, so we are both our names was Julian. The head coach was, and I was. So I ended up learning a lot, man, from that team, from that coaching staff. It was really good coaching staff. We had really good players that was played there. That second year, that was probably one of the best teams I ever been on in 2016. We were um, we were tough. We were nasty. and we worked hard, and we was together. I mean, and through all types of adversity throughout the season, man, we stayed together, and that's why we won the division title that year. And then we lost by 3 points in the championship game in the CIF. So we was pretty good that year for sure.
Absolutely. Correct me if I'm wrong, but your quarterback at the time was Nate Davis.
Yeah, man, that's my guy, man. Nate, yeah, he's man, he was terrific quarterback, man. One of the best quarterbacks I ever played with. But he was really good for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I thought it was kind of funny for those of you out there that are watching that may not know, a lot of those Duke City Gladiator guys that are really well known right now originally came from the Amarillo Venom. There was like a rather large group that kind of jumped over. But what I found in my research or in the bio that you sent me is that you were kind of the first that set that trend. Do you think you jumping over to the Gladiators in 2017 had any influence over the rest of your teammates later on?
Maybe. It's a whole network, man. I found that out too as well. Players, coaches that man, you go to those places because you're familiar with them, you're comfortable with them. You know what I'm saying? And you did some work with them. So sometimes, man, you call up some guys and be like, hey, where are we going this year? You know what I mean? And then we all kind of network together and try to see where we want to go. So um, but yeah, man, that's what arena football and the football community does. Because if you try to win a championship, you want the right guys on the team for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, with the way turnover happens in the indoor football world, to kind of build on that continuity is a huge advantage. So when you can kind of, continue to build on that chemistry you have with a quarterback or with another wide receiver, which we'll see here in a bit throughout your career, that it's super valuable, super valuable. It really can't even be said how valuable that is. So the following season in 2018, you jumped to the Kansas City Phantoms, which, by the way, have a super awesome logo
Yeah,
based on the F4 fighter jet.
yeah.
You were actually reunited with quarterback Donovan Portier. I hope I
Yeah.
pronounced that
Ryan
correctly.
Porter, yeah, DP, yep. Hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So, who had actually won the MVP the season before in Duke City with you. So,
yeah.
how big of an influence was he on your decision to join the Phantoms?
Man, huge. Like I said, we just talked about it, man. We talked to each other like, hey man, DP, where you going? And like, juice, man, I'm gonna be here. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of worked together, and we had a couple guys that did the same thing, and we did pretty good that year. We had, like I said, we had a pretty good team that year, but injuries kind of hurt us that year in 2018. But we ended up, fighting through that and having a pretty good year. That was my first time in, Kansas City. So yeah, it was kind of a pretty good experience.
Absolutely. Just out of curiosity, unfortunately, the Phantoms would cease to operate after the 2018 season. Did you kind of see that writing on the wall at all? Is that what caused you to move on in 2019?
I mean, you never know. I mean, you got to kind of keep it even keel. I mean, you never know what happens. But we was just focused on just trying to, win. Win the day. I mean, every day, building brick by brick. Not really trying to focus on what was going on outside. But we was trying to definitely just trying to be better every day, for sure. But after we heard the news, I mean, obviously we had to just, move on and try to find other avenues for sure.
Absolutely. So in 2019, you actually kind of got the opportunity to represent your home state with the
Yeah.
Indianapolis Enforcers. How
Mhm.
big of an impact was that on your decision to join the Enforcers in 2019?
Man, it was huge. It was just something that I wanted to do and bring to my hometown. And it was a pretty good outcome out of that, man. It's just we put in the work and and you feel different. It's a different feeling when you're playing for your people. Where you come from, man. So it was a great experience there too as well. And then we had a lot of fun for sure.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about how much that motivated you in your first season playing professionally in your home state. I mean, to me, from an outsider's perspective, I look at your statistics and you caught 54 passes for 798 yards and 7 touchdowns, which from the naked eye doesn't necessarily pop. But when you think about it, you were actually averaging 3 more yards per reception than your career average at the time. So to me, it kind of seemed like you were a little extra motivated that season.
Yeah, man. I mean, definitely, man. It's just a different feeling, man. I don't know. I was just, every year has its own journey. And this journey was just, it meant a lot to me. And then it made me just, be more motivated and come out and try to play like that, man. And I just kind of live with those results. I put in the work. I trust the process, you know what I mean, and my work, and I just live with the results. And that's what the results that year was.
Absolutely. It was pretty impressive. Like I said, it wasn't something that necessarily I caught right away, but then I'm
Mhm.
like kind of looking through, doing the math as I go, and I'm like, wow, all of a sudden he had a large uptick right here in yards per reception.
Yeah,
So it's kind of
you got a
funny
good
to
eye.
see that.
You got a good eye
Hey,
right there, man. Pretty good.
I try. You
Yeah,
gave me really good information to work with, so I appreciate that for sure.
yeah, no problem.
So, as we know, in 2020, most leagues shut down, the AAL included. How did you find out that enforcers wouldn't play a 2020 season?
Man, we was in camp, man. And it was growing. The organization was growing. We got a big venue we was gonna be playing at. And it was good. It was going good. We was having practice one day, and then like we got done with practice. Then we found out, somebody was like on the phone was like, "Hey man," because the COVID stuff was out at that time, and it was like, because the NBA was on, and it was like they canceled the game. It was against Utah. It was a Utah game, and Rudy Gobert, he was the first one that ever got it, and it was like, "Hey man," they said Rudy Gobert got COVID, and they canceled the game, and that's when we found out like, oh, okay, and then it started spreading from there. Then within a week, they was like, hey, we're gonna go ahead and shut everything down. They shut the whole, how to shut everything down. So from within a week, everything was just shut down. So that's how we kind of found out. And it was, it just happened real fast, for sure.
It's amazing. I've heard from several players that indoor or outdoor football, whether they were playing the XFL, whatever league it might be, they were like,
Yeah,
we saw the NBA shut down and we knew it was coming. And I was like, man, that must have been such a disconcerting time for athletes. Cause I mean, you just don't know if a lot of these leagues are going to come back from that. There was
yeah,
questions about the CFL returning, and they've been around for hundreds of years or 800 years. Sorry about that.
yeah, yeah,
So it was a trying time, I can imagine, for men who are trying to make a living, playing football.
yeah. And it's tough, man, because we had to stay, try to stay even keel with it, mentally, man, because it could be tough mentally. So what happened with there is, we with my off season regimen, I just went ahead and start going back to work. I mean, any way I could, I did home stuff. I went to the park. You know what I mean? When we start getting out a little bit, start going to field. So we just try to work with it, man. And then out of that, man, I just kind of think like, man, like, some good gonna come out of this. You know what I mean? Because you're putting the work in, you're still trying to do the best you can. Some good gonna come out of it for sure.
Absolutely. So I'm going to take a minute, excuse me, to run through a couple comments. We've got quite a few rolling in here. Lots of support for you. Tropical Storm, hosted by Sean Oliva, says, "Can't wait to meet you in person." Inside the Lines, "I'm getting a picture blown up of Juice catching my first ever pro TD. I just threw it up and he showed up. God bless Skywalker."
That
I
actually
love
happened.
that.
That actually happened. Yes, he definitely threw his first touchdown to me. Yep, that happened. Yep.
Well, Tyler is not one to lie, so that doesn't surprise me. I was enrolled at Indiana State in 2014. Beanie Gang. This guy cracks me up. The Leg and Juice. Sean says, "You ready to win a championship in 2023?"
Yeah, that's what we're here for, man. Like I said, man, we're going to try to build it brick by brick, day by day, man. And focus on the steps to try and do that for sure. That's why we're here.
Absolutely. And Inside the Line says, "Good research, bro. I'm out here making stuff up." Again, Julian here provided me with a ton of information when I was doing stuff. So it made my research incredibly easy, a lot easier than normal. So all credit to him. And then it was just basically going into details on what he gave me. So I appreciate Julian for the great information to work with. And thank you, Tyler, as always. And he says, "What's the story with the stop sign?" We'll save that for at the end of the episode. I'll explain that. So you got to stick around till the very end. Max Novak, another wide receiver, a guy that will probably be taking a little bit of the coverage away from you this season, is tuned in with Lorenz as well. They're both arrived in Topeka as well, which I understand you just arrived recently as well.
Yep. Yeah. So we here to get some extra work, man. I can't wait to meet those boys and get to work, man. It's this time, baby. It's time to roll.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Indiana Farmers Coliseum at the State Fairgrounds. I assume this is where you caught the touchdown pass?
That is where we were supposed to be playing at in 2020 when it shut down.
Okay, gotcha.
I caught his first touchdown, and we played Michigan Ironman. I don't know if you heard them before. The Ironman. That's the team we played against. That's when I scored it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Lorenz says, let's go. We turned y'all boys live on the road to Topeka. That's awesome. I like it. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. But moving on back to your career, in 2021, you returned to the Enforcers. Luckily, they were able to return after COVID. Again, representing your home state, you end up leading the team in receptions, yards, and touchdowns for the second season in a row. How did the level of competition in the AAL compare to what you were used to in the CIF for the past 4 seasons?
It's tough, man, because that league was kind of up and coming. The organization was up and coming, so the competition was not as much as what I was used to. But it didn't matter to me. I was trying to grow something there in Indianapolis, and I was trying to build something there. So whoever was on the field, it didn't matter who it was. I was just going to try to do the best I could, and trust in my training and my process for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the time when you opt to sign with some of these indoor teams, you realize that they're a little bit of a startup organization and you kind of get in what you put in. So if you're there, you're going to promote the team, kind of build it up, try and make it better than, the way you found it in a way.
Yeah, that was the main thing for sure.
So in 2022, unfortunately, we watched as the Enforcers end up closing up shop. You no longer had a hometown team and you had a newborn child at the time. So you made really the only decision in my mind a father could make in that situation and took the season off to focus on your family. When you made that decision, did you make it with a thought process that it might be a permanent one, or kind of not knowing that if you ever return to the field?
I mean, yeah, man. I mean, definitely. I don't know if I'd had the right opportunity or not. I mean, I just never knew. And I have a great support system in my family. My fiance Katie, my son Milo, boy getting big now, and my stepdaughter Trinity, and I got a great support system with them, and then my rest of my family too as well. But it's just I wanted to sacrifice that, man, because it was just a time for me to be home, and everything happens for a reason. And maybe the team shut down because of that. You know what I mean? So it's just those things, man. I look at, try to think positively, throughout those things. But and Katie was like, hey, I understand, but still get to work. You know what I mean? So she was on me. So I stayed working out, I stayed training, got right back to work. And then I ended up, trying out for the XFL twice. I went to the showcase, and then I went to a private workout with the DC Defenders. Luckily, nothing. I mean, I didn't, end up getting a call or anything, but I had a great experience, and you know what I mean, and and still waiting. You just never know. But yeah, that year, 2022 was a huge year for me, to focus on mentally, physically, and spiritually for sure.
Absolutely. So is that your third child then?
Yeah, so yep. I got 3. I got another boy too as well. He's that's Weston. He's gonna be 7 coming up here. So I got 3. Yep, so 3 good kids. Yep.
Very nice. Very nice. Congratulations on that.
Appreciate it, man.
So heading into the 2023 season, you end up signing with the Topeka Tropics, who have returned head coach Tyus Jackson when we didn't even know if there was going to be a Topeka Tropics team at one point. So for those of you who don't know, Coach Jackson was the defensive coordinator for the Phantoms in 2017 to 2018. In 2018, you actually ended up playing for the Phantoms, and that's kind of what spurred this connection with you two. How instrumental was this experience with Coach and getting you back into the game after a year away?
Oh man, we stayed connected. We stayed, contacting everything. Coach Jackson's a really good guy, a really good coach. And he said if I ever needed anything or if he wanted me to come play, he gonna keep hitting me up to see, what's going on and stuff. And now throughout the years, I mean, especially last year in 2022, he asked me to come play. But obviously, like I said, the circumstances I couldn't. And he understood that wholeheartedly. He's like, hey, just let me know. I could have, we could do something for next year too. And I told him like, hey, I keep in touch, and that's what happened. Now I'm here. So yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Like you said before, indoor football, it's all about networking. And this is one of those situations that kind of proves, networking is super important because you've had a lot of success due to the fact that you've kind of built relationships with these coaches, these other players and stuff. And it's helped you in your career, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's definitely, man, a community, you know what I mean? And something that, it's good to network. And you meet a lot of credible people, man. You meet a lot of good people and credible people. So it's always good to be open-minded about that, man, and create those relationships for sure.
Absolutely. So one of the reasons why I say I feel your networking has been so important to your career has been the stability you've had. The kind of, it seems like you may bounce from team to team to team, but it's typically because you're with somebody, or you're building on one of those connections that I just spoke about. But with that being said, I mean, would you recommend being picky when it comes to the situations you put yourself in when it comes to indoor football?
Man, I just want to be to make sure it's the right mix. Most of the time too, and times in my career, I mean, every contract was 1 year. So it was just season by season. You know what I mean? So it wasn't no 2-year, 3-year deal. It was just 1 year every year. So, and that's kind of give you like the freedom and, the leeway to try to see, how things work out. Some guys even, keep signing the same team every year. It's just a better situation for them. My situation was, I wasn't the teams I played for. I wasn't the hometown person there. So most of the time I was like, I'm not going to be able to stay here after this year. So I'm going to try to find somewhere else or try to come back next year. So it's just different things like that, with the situation for sure.
Gotcha. So obviously we talked about it just a little bit ago. You've already arrived in Topeka. A couple of your teammates, Max and Lorenz, are going to be shortly behind you. Now, obviously, I know you've played with some amazing quarterback wide receiver tandems on the opposite side, but where do these two guys rank on that list for you in terms of best wide receiver tandems you've ever played with, or quarterback wide receiver tandems you've ever played
Oh
with?
man, these guys are really good, man. Like I said, I watched the film, and we kind of been communicating as well and talking football a little bit too, man. So they got great minds, great IQs, and I'm just can't wait to put it all together with them, man. Put it all together and really excel with that. These guys are also hard workers too. You know what I mean? So we just can't wait to get started. They on their way right now, and I'm seeing me smiling and stuff. So, so we just ready to get going, man, and try to bring a championship here to Topeka for sure.
Absolutely. Super excited to see what you guys come up with because, like you said, football IQ is high with you three. So I have a feeling that it's going to be interesting to watch this season. Lorenz always talks about this one and done mentality where he wants to score every time he's got the ball in his hands. And I have a feeling that, you and Max are going to definitely echo that this season several times this year. So with that being said, I'm kind of curious, are you at all concerned with having another target on the opposite side, taking some targets away? I mean, or are you encouraged and excited about the fact that you may face a lot more single coverage this season?
Oh no, man! It's every game is a different story, man. You know what I mean? Just never know. But it's always good to have great players around. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who it is. You know what I mean? It's always good to have great players around because it's hard to guard. So everybody eats. That's kind of my motto. You know what I'm saying? And and be ready for the opportunity when it comes to you. So it's always about that, man. I'm not, it's too big on, myself or how people are looking at me. I'm worried about the team that's here. I'm worried about how we can be successful that game, that day. You know what I'm saying? So, um, but yeah, man, no, it's all about that, man. The more people you got on the field, that's really good. The more things they got to worry about, So, um, and that's going to create more opportunities for everybody else. So yeah, I like it.
I agree. I agree. It's going to be interesting to watch how defenses try and cover you two guys, because there's you two and there's that's just scratching the surface on this roster. I mean, there's really a lot of talent that has been brought into Topeka this season.
Yep.
So obviously, everywhere you look, it seems you're listed as a wide receiver, running back, kick returner. So I'm curious. I wanted to get your take on some of the players that we've seen kind of grow this trend of wide receivers that are used in the running game. Guys like Debo Samuel, Cordarrelle Patterson, Laviska Shenault, Tyreek Hill, Curtis Samuels. Is this a role that you ever campaigned for, or was it something that coaches just saw the athlete you were and they're like, we need to get the ball in this guy's hand no matter how we can?
Well, the coaches, man. I had a really good coach here. At high school in Southport. His name is William Peoples. He really saw that I was a pretty good athlete. I played running back in high school. That was my first position ever. I didn't play receiver until I got to college. That's kind of a fun fact for me, for everybody. But I didn't play receiver until I got to college. But I was a running back. So it was easy for me to get the ball just by hitting it off to me, or throwing a swing route or something like that. So that was my first position. When I got to college, I went with the running backs, and the head coach was like, "You play running back?" I was like, "Yeah," and I was about $160. He was like, "All right, go with the receivers." So that's when I went like, "Okay, all right, now I'll play receiver." You know what I'm saying? Then I tried to make the best of it, and then after that, I met Mike. And he kind of put me in between running back and receiver that year. So, um, so yeah, man, it's just been like I said, to try to stay true to my game, and then trust the coaches to put me in right positions.
Who are some of the players that you've kind of modeled your game after? Not necessarily modeled your game after, but studied to, gain knowledge, I guess, over the years?
Ah, man, my guy, one of the receivers, man, that I liked growing up was Antonio Brown. He was a really good receiver. We was, stature the same way, same height, same weight, and his quickness, his acceleration, his deceleration, his way to create space is incredible. Him, Steve Smith, another guy that played with the Panthers, he was really good at creating space, and he was tough, hard nosed, and I kind of model those things after that for sure.
Steve Smith was, for lack of a better term, it's kind of a trendy, hot word now, but he was a dog. He came to play every week. He was going to punch you in the mouth if he got an opportunity. I loved watching him play with Carolina and later on Baltimore.
Yeah.
So this is going to end up being my last question for you today, but it's quite simple. With a resume that features 255 receptions, 3,134 yards, and 44 touchdowns professionally, as a veteran receiver, what goals do you have left to accomplish in 2023 that kind of brought you back into the game and keeps you fighting every day to be better and better?
Make the sign right here is this. I ain't got one of those. We that's kind of the main thing right there. My phrase is gonna be keep the main thing, and that's that ring. And that's why we all gonna be here. Because we want to win that ring, and that's what we striving for. That's the only thing that I ain't got. I heard the stats. It's good to hear that, but I want that. That's what we want right there. So that's why I'm still here, trying to still reach that goal for sure.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So obviously it's been a pleasure speaking with you, Julian. I appreciate you coming on, and Once again, thank you so much for being a part of Shady Sports Network and telling your story here. But before I let you get out of here, why don't you go ahead and take a moment to shout out anyone you like, tell the fans where they can find you on social media, and if you have any, please tell us where we can find some merchandise.
Okay. Hey man, shout out to my family, Katie, aka Sale. That's my fiance, my family there. Shout out to my mom, Angela Walker. I love y'all back at home, man. I know y'all holding it down for me, and I appreciate it. And then social media, man, I got Instagram. It's _juice_Skywalker. That's my Instagram, and then I got Twitter. I think it's JuiceWalk5. I gotta check. I don't be on Twitter like that. And Facebook is Juice Skywalker. That's the Facebook. So yeah, go in there and check me out, man. I'm ready to get accustomed with the fans. Been talking to a couple fans already, so it's good to do that, man. I'm gonna be in the community a lot, so it's gonna be good to go.
Absolutely. Once again, man, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it, or I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing what you guys can do in 2023. Like I said, I definitely think that this team has brought in people that know how to win for a reason. Men like yourself who have been on the cusp of championships over and over and over again and just kind of want to get to that next level. Men like Lorenz and Max who were in the championship last year, or Dwayne Autry, who is also a championship guy. So I think this team really has all the pieces to compete very, very heavily in 2023. So I wish you guys all the best of luck and nothing but success this season.
All right, appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it for sure.
Absolutely. Have a good one, and I will definitely keep in touch.
All right, no problem, man. Have a good day, man.
You as well. You too. All right. Once again, guys, that is Julian Juice Skywalker, the man himself. Super excited to see what he can do again with Lorenz and Max on the opposite side. I really think this offense has all the makings of a championship winning squad. And then on the defense, don't even get me started. I mean, honestly, this team is stacked top to bottom. I'm excited for what they have coming in 2023. And I honestly think that, like I said, this is a championship squad. Once again, congratulations to Lauren Gomez, who has won our 500 subscriber giveaway. Lauren, if you did not catch this, make sure you send me your information via DM. You know where to get a hold of me. I will get you the money right away. Again, congratulations. Thank you so much for your support over the past year. Everybody who tuned in today, thank you for your support. Make sure to share this with your friends. We want everybody to see Julian's story. He's an amazing person, a great father, obviously, and a great player. So I'm super excited to see what all of you guys can do in 2023. And real quick, before we get out of here, we got some questions in the chat. So we'll hit all these million different comments that popped up. So Lorenz says he's excited to join him into the connection him and Max have. Fire. Double moves all day. The better the chemistry off the field, the more on the field my guy's going to eat. So that's why they're going there early to start working. This is the question I wanted to get to. So what are your thoughts on the new extra point rules? So I personally love this. If you have not heard, the CIF has added 3 and 4 point options for the 2023 season. Personally, I like it because a team who is down by 10 points is now only down by 1 possession. Now, I don't expect teams to be using this all the time. If you look into the numbers, I guarantee the analytics work out to where you're going to want to go for 1 or go for 2 more often than not still. I would imagine the league did a lot of research into this whole thought process before they brought it into the league, and they understand that it's going to be rare, but it's going to add some excitement to the game. Again, you're going to have less blowouts or less games that feel like blowouts because you can put 10 points up on the board like that. So I personally think it's a good idea. I don't think it's going to really significantly change the game, except for when it's in crunch time. When you're in the fourth quarter, you're down by 10 and you need to catch up, you're going to go for that extra 4-point conversion. So I think that's when it's really going to come into play. I'm super excited about it. I'm excited to see how it works. This is something that we've seen instituted in the USFL and the XFL with the 3-point conversion, but I've never seen a 4-point conversion. So I am extremely intrigued by this rule. So I will definitely be watching and trying to follow the numbers on all that and how it works. Tammy says, Julian truly is the most humble gentleman ever. Such a great man to know and wonderful player. We will miss him in Indy these next few months, but so excited for this chapter in his life and proud to be able to support him. Loren says, ring. I beat him to it. Ring him, championship mindset. Max says, let's get tropical. Loren says, see you later tonight, Juice. Goats. And you ain't hard to find. I'm not quite sure what that means, but that's okay, Tyler. So I'm sure you'll explain it. With that all being said, thank you everybody who tuned in. I hope you guys continue to follow along with Julian. I hope you continue to follow along with Shady Sports Network, because we're only going to be continuing to bring you more and more coverage from the CIF and the Topeka Tropics in 2023. Have a great rest of your day, and go Eagles.